What's up? I'm Vin, and today I want to take a look at this absolute beast of a factoring question. We're going to need to use a difference of two squares here, but this is truly a difference of two squares on steroids. Now, in general, for difference of two squares, when we have p squared minus q squared, this factors to p plus q times p minus q. Now, normally this formula will say a squared minus b squared, but we have a lot of a's and b's showing up here, so I'll use p and q. So now to get this started, what I want to do is I want to rewrite this first term as 2ac in parentheses to the second power minus, and then I'm just going to rewrite the second part. We have a squared minus b squared plus c squared, and then all of this squared. Now the reason why I did this was because now I have something squared minus something else squared. So now this we could write as two factors. So I'm just going to leave myself a bit of space here, and we'll leave ourselves even more space. Let's spread this out even more since we have all this space over here. And now notice that it's going to be the first thing that we have is 2ac. So notice when we're using this formula, in this case here, it's like I'm saying p is equal to 2ac, and then q, our next term, is going to be a squared minus b squared plus c squared. So that's how this is going to factor. We're going to have p plus q, so we're going to have 2ac plus q is a squared minus b squared plus c squared. And then in the second set of parentheses, we'll have p minus q. So we'll have 2ac minus, and then q is equal to a squared minus b squared plus c squared. Now, it may not be obvious what to do in the next step, but we want to rearrange things a little bit in each parenthesis. So notice what I have here is I have a squared plus, and then I'm going to have 2ac plus c squared, and I'm going to write my minus b squared at the end. And then in the second set of parentheses, what we could do is we could distribute this negative. So we'll have 2ac minus a squared plus b squared minus c squared. Now, it may not be 100% obvious on what we have to do here, but this part right here, a squared plus 2ac plus c squared, that's actually going to factor really nicely to a plus c squared. Because notice if I expand this, a plus c times a plus c would give me a squared plus c squared, but then my middle term would be 2ac if I actually expand this. So this part here factors really nicely, and then we'll have our minus b squared tacking on. And then in this one over here, the second set of parentheses, what I would do in this case is I would group together these terms, the 2ac, then I would group that with the minus a squared and the minus c squared. So what I would have is I would have b squared, and something's telling me here to take out a negative. So if I do minus, now I could put a parenthesis and then close the main parenthesis here, and we'll just make that a little bit neater. So we have this, and then I'll have b squared minus, and I could write the inside here as a squared minus 2ac, and then plus c squared. So I'm factoring this out because now this is going to jump out at me as a minus c squared. The same way this was a plus c squared because we had a plus 2ac. We have a squared, c squared, and a minus 2ac, so this is going to factor to a minus c squared. So now we have a plus c squared minus b squared, and then in the second parenthesis here, we're going to have b squared minus, and we have a minus c squared like this. So now we're almost at the finish line here. Let's just do a little bit more. So what we have is, I'm going to put a bracket here because this is going to be a massive expression. And let's say we deal with this one first. Well, I'm going to have, think of this as the p squared minus q squared again, but p is now equal to a plus c, and q is equal to b. That we're going to have a plus c plus b times, and we'll have a plus c minus b. So notice we're using the difference of two squares formula again. And then in this parenthesis over here, what we're going to have is we're going to have b plus a minus c, and then we'll have b minus a minus c. So this part will close here. So now we're ready to write our final result. This is going to be equal to, we could drop these brackets. We're going to have a plus b plus c, and I'll write this in alphabetical order. And then we'll have a minus b plus c in the second parenthesis, and then we'll have a plus b minus c, and then last, when we distribute this negative, we're going to have a minus a, we have a plus b, and when we distribute this negative all the way to the end, we're going to have a plus c. So this is our entire expression factored completely.